All right, everybody. Circulatory system. So you all should have notes in front of you. If you lose these notes or something happens, you need to print these out. They are on the website. So look up there. I need you all now to close your Chromebooks so we can focus on the notes here. Okay, close your Chromebooks. Put all your case studies away that's due tomorrow. Put those away for now. We're going to focus on these notes. All right, so ready to go? Okay.
Do you pray?
What?
Have we prayed?
I don't know. Maybe we haven't. Let's see. Let me get this up. Duplicate. Come on, here we go. All right. All right, circulatory system. Your notes should be, you should be ready to go there. What it is and what it does, we're going to start focusing on that here first. Get through all these hiccups here. Okay. All right, so circulatory system is also called the cardiovascular system that you will might notice there. So an overview, we're going to talk about the physiology. What does the circulatory system do? Anatomy, what are the parts, diseases, disorders, diagnosis, treatment, and careers. So, the first one, physiology. Introduction. Every cell of your body needs certain things to survive. They each also produce waste that needs to be taken away. A circulatory system is what does both of these things for each living organism. All right, so the underlined words should coincide with your blanks there. Cells can primarily gain nutrients and excrete waste through diffusion. This must happen over short distances. This means that the majority of your cells all must be within 2 cells of a blood vessel. Okay. So diffusion, anyone know what diffusion means? Anyone heard that term before? Any guesses?
Air going out.
Okay, air going out. Okay, kind of. Yeah, anybody else want to add to that? Yep. Right, so diffusion is if you have a high concentration of gas or liquid, it will automatically try to move to a lower concentrated area. So if you smell a very strong aroma, right, over time it will diffuse to other parts of the room or the hallway or whatever, and all of a sudden it'll get mixed up so much that it'll be so dilute that you won't be able to smell it so much. So same sort of, if you have a high concentration of waste or nutrients, they move through diffusion. They just kind of randomly bump into each other and fill in kind of void areas, and so it kind of balances out naturally. Our circulatory system does 7 things for us. Number 1, transports nutrients, the good things that our cells and organs and the body need. It transports all those good things, transports hormones, chemicals that are made in the body, transports to different parts of the body, transports gases, all sorts of gases that we have inside our body. Oxygen is the main one in the blood that transports to the different. Yeah, if you have a question, you can go ahead and ask. Think in your head though. Okay, this is for now. Transports waste throughout the body. Okay, so again, your cells excrete waste as well, and so that has to be kind of flushed out or transported out. Regulates temperature. So if you get too hot, your blood starts to flow to try and regulate the temperature. Or if you get too cold, your face gets red in the wintertime. You know, if it's exposed to the cold air, your blood is trying to push to all of the cells nearest to your skin to warm it up a little bit, because blood's pretty hot if your skin's cold. Forms clots to prevent blood loss. So if you get a scrape or a cut and you cover it, apply pressure, right? That's one of the things you're supposed to do if you get a cut. Apply pressure. That allows your blood to clot, to become like gel, and it prevents the the liquid spilling out, right, of the blood. So prevents blood loss there, and protect the body against bacteria and viruses. Okay, so 7 things. You want to try and remember those 7 things that the circulatory system does. If you have any questions, go ahead and throw up your hand. Question?
How does the circulatory system protect the body against bacteria
Okay.
and viruses?
Okay, how does the circulatory system protect the body against bacteria and viruses? That's a good question. Anybody want to comment on that or have an idea? Yep, sure.
Your circulatory system also brings along, like, your immune system has the different white blood cells
Yep.
and red blood cells that are carried around the body in order to take care of the different viruses that
Yep,
enter the body.
that's right. You have antibodies in your body, white blood cells especially, and so the blood carries those to different parts of your body where the infection is. When you have swelling or when you have redness, around an area that has been damaged or skin that's been breached, that's your circulatory system kind of bringing more blood and more nutrients and more antibodies in that to fight off infection. So that's one of the way. Like a highway. Like a highway, that's right. All right, anatomy. What are the circulatory system parts? It has 3 main parts. Number 1 is the heart. The heart is used to pump the fluid. Okay. A heart to pump fluid. Vessels, so blood vessels to carry fluid. Vessels should be your blank there. And the blood itself, that is the fluid to carry the nutrients and waste products. So the fluid to carry the nutrients and waste products. So the heart to pump, the vessels to carry, sort of like the the tubes that the liquid goes through, and then the blood is the actual liquid inside. All right, so let's talk about your heart. Oh, we're a little past Valentine's Day. It's too bad. Could have talked about this on Valentine's Day. It would have been most appropriate. Our heart is a 4-chambered heart. Birds and lizards have 3, fish have 2. We have 4 specific chambers or sections in our heart. The 4 chambers are divided into 2 halves, the right side and the left side. Each half also has 2 parts, an atrium and a ventricle. So each side, each half, has an atrium and a ventricle. So we'll talk about a diagram. We'll see a diagram here in a bit. The atriums, or the atria, is another way to say a plural word like that. The atria of the heart receive blood into the heart. Okay, so the atriums pull the blood in to the heart. They are smaller than ventricles, since they just have to pump hard enough to send the blood to the ventricles, which are right beside them. Okay, so again, we'll see a diagram shortly here. The atrium pulls the blood in, and then it pushes it out to the ventricle. The ventricle is what squishes it, and pushes the blood out. The ventricles have to send the blood out of the heart to the body. As a result, they need larger muscles and are bigger than the atrium. The path of the blood through the heart is, let me see here, the path of the blood to the body is, okay, blood from body, hang on, okay, here we go. There we go. Okay, so here's the diagram. Here's the notes to follow here. Blood from body, right atrium. So forget about this little symbol. I'm not sure what that's all about. Also note that this is the patient's right and left, not yours. So if you're looking at the heart, it's the patient's right and left. So blood from the body, right atrium. Here it is right here in green, right atrium. Okay, so the blood comes into there first. Blood from the body, right atrium, and then right ventricle. So the right ventricle, then the blood moves there. Okay, the notes are set up a little bit different than this diagram here. Right atrium and then right ventricle. The valves, okay, so the valves separate the atria and the ventricles, as well as the ventricles and the passageway from the heart. So a valve is sort of like a gate that opens and closes, right? That's a valve. And so when the blood pumps through, the valve opens up and then it closes again, so the blood doesn't squish kind of back into it. It's we have interesting. Okay, it's interesting. Our body's designed beautifully. And our engineering, when we pump things over long distances or up distances, we have things called check valves in the pipes. And those are valves that just open one way. And if water wants to come back the other way, it automatically closes and stops it. So, you know, kind of taking our hint from our designed body here. All right, let's see what's next. Okay. So the ventricle sends the blood to the lungs. Okay, so this is why the circles are out to the side here, because the lungs are on either side there. So we got the right atrium, the right ventricle, and then the blood gets sent to the lungs. Okay. The one place where arteries carry deoxygenated blood is in the pulmonary cycle. Okay. So deoxygenated blood is blood that is depleted of oxygen. So we'll talk about the respiratory system as well, but your blood carries oxygen to different parts of your body that need it. When we breathe in the air, which holds a lot of oxygen. And so that oxygen goes into our lungs, and it passes from our lungs into our blood, amazingly. And so that blood goes back into, it gets into our heart, which pumps through the rest of the body. Also, the deoxygenated blood, when we breathe out, we breathe in the oxygen air. When we breathe out sort of a lot of waste, carbon dioxide and waste, so depleted or used up sort of air. Okay. So again, I'll read that again. The one place where arteries carry deoxygenated blood is in the pulmonary cycle. And the pulmonary, that refers to lungs, okay? Pulmonary refers to lungs. So is this working for you here? Are we getting this so far? Following along with the notes? Valves, ventricle, okay. All right. Okay, what's next? Blood from the lungs. From the lungs come into the left atrium. So blood from the lungs, the pulmonary vein, that's from the lungs, come into the left atrium. And then go to the left ventricle. Okay? So we've got blood coming into the right atrium from the body, kind of deoxygenated, looks like blue blood here is deoxygenated blood. And then the blood goes to the lungs. They pick up some oxygen, come back into the left atrium, and then they go down to the left ventricle. And then what do you suppose happens after that left ventricle?
It goes up into the aorta, and the aorta distributes it to the rest of the body.
Yeah, so right from here, it goes up into the aorta, which is the main artery. So arteries generally are carries blood away from the heart, and veins usually carry the blood back. But the left ventricle has thicker muscle wall around it than the right ventricle. So the left ventricle has thicker muscles around here. Why do you think that might be?
Because the right side only has to pump the blood as far as the lungs, where the left side has to distribute it to your entire body.
Yep, that's exactly right. The right ventricle has to pump blood out of your heart into the lungs only, which are right beside the heart. And then the left ventricle has to pump that blood all the way through your body, all the way through the big system of your arteries and veins. Okay? So, do we have that straight here now? So blood from the body comes into the right atrium, then it goes to the right ventricle, to the lungs, back from the lungs to the left atrium, then down to the left ventricle, and then out the body, and, oops, let's see. And so then, so after that, the blood goes to the body from the left ventricle. Here's the aorta, and then it repeats. So it's just one big system, right? Your heart is pumping, and there's like blood going, every pump, your blood kind of like pumps through the system, and then it comes back and just kind of keeps repeating. And of course, it's not a big circle like that, but it goes to. Well, your bones make blood, but you basically keep the blood that's in your body. Like it doesn't, like it would disintegrate a little bit, so your bones would have to produce blood if you lost blood or if over time. But no, your blood, like if you're just living a regular life, you're not bleeding out. When you lose blood, your body can make more blood. But yeah, it's just the same blood. it gets full of oxygen, carries to your muscles and your brain and all that sort of stuff. And when it kind of gets back to the heart again, it needs to be refreshed with that oxygen from the lungs, and then it just kind of keeps pumping through for the most part. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? Like blood doesn't pump out all the time. I mean, unless you're bleeding.
That
So
would be
it
terrifying.
stays in there. Yeah, it stays in there. Yeah.
Does blood ever go bad?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, does blood ever go bad? I mean, I'm sure that like blood would have to be, it would disintegrate over time. I'm not sure exactly how the cycle of the blood works. We're going to learn a little bit more about blood here coming up, but for the most part, your blood just keeps pumping through your body. But we'll learn a little bit more about blood as we move through here. Okay. All right. Good questions. Okay. There's the heart diagram again. Let's see. There are valves. No, see, where are you guys? No, let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, first bullet point really on your second page there. There are valves that keep the blood flowing the right direction in the heart, as I mentioned. Between the atria and the ventricles are the atrioventricular valves. Atrioventricular. So think about it in three different sort of sections. Atrioventricular valves. The mitral valve is on the left side. So you see this diagram. Now, unfortunately, you do not have a diagram here of the heart on your paper, I don't think, anywhere. So, yeah, you'll have to. I might get you one, but this is obviously online here. You can look at this too. So the mitral valve is on the left side. The tricuspid is on the right. So tricuspid valve right here, the mitral valve. Leaving the ventricles are the semilunar valves. Leaving the ventricles are the semilunar valves. So right here and right here. The aortic valve and the pulmonary valve. The aortic valve is on the left side, going to the body. The pulmonary valve is on the right side, going to the lungs. I should, maybe next time I'll make sure I get the diagram of the heart on these notes for you. I'll probably print one off for you here. Okay. All right, did I skip a, okay. Any questions there so far?
Why does two atrioventricular valves have different names?
Okay, so they're atrioventricular, that's the general category of the valves. Yeah, so they have
completely different names. How does it named?
Don't know. There's lots of reasons. Yeah, why they're named. This I don't really have an answer for you right there. But that's the names of them right here. So the tricuspid and the mitral. Yeah, there's a lot of names in medical terms that, again, if you want to be a doctor, you probably know the background, and you'll have to study the background. I don't know the background for a lot of these names. I just know the names. So just one more point. If you guys want to be involved in the medical field, if you want to be a doctor, you want to be a nurse, you want to be in research or anything like that, these kind of really strange names are some things that you're going to have to learn and memorize, and there's a lot of work that way. But if you start small, like we are here in this class, you have maybe 10 things to memorize right here. You keep building that into your memory, and before you know it, you have all these terms in your mind. So it's not like you have to memorize 1,000 things by tomorrow. It builds. But anyways, yeah, you'll kind of have to get used to some of these strange names. Okay, all right, let's keep moving. The heart. The heart's beat is controlled by two electrical nodes. Those are pacemakers. Two electrical nodes. Now there's artificial pacemakers. You've probably heard of someone who got heart troubles. A pacemaker allows the heart to beat regularly because the natural pacemakers aren't doing it.
AED.
Yeah. The sinoatrial, the SA node, sinoatrial, is on the atriums, and it sends an electric pulse to the atriums, causing them to beat. So the SA node, sinoatrial. They send a signal to the atrioventricular node, AV, and just fill in the blanks for now, which then sends an electrical pulse through the, okay, I've never heard that term before actually, Purkinje. Yeah, Purkinje. And I'll let you know if that's a typo. that's a strange one.
No, it's actually,
The
I
per-
think
the-
it's actually that.
Yeah, the Purkinje fibers, which causes the ventricles to beat. Okay. And this is why your heartbeat is kind of a lub-dub sound. Lub-dub, lub-dub. You know, bum, 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 bum. Yes, the very technical term, lub-dub. Yes,
Very technical.
very technical. Lub-dub. I lub-dub you. Okay. As far as... Okay, so... Page 158 should match with your textbook. Anybody have your textbook out with you? All right, blood vessels, arteries. Once the blood leaves the heart, it has to get to all the cells in the body and then back again. It does this in a closed loop. So a little diagram of an artery over here, a thicker outer wall, a small lumen. Okay, a thick media, smooth muscle, so there's kind of muscles inside there. This diagram is a little bit wonky here. Maybe check your textbook to see a better diagram. Yeah, because this is not pointing to anything right there, so that one has to be fixed. As the blood leaves the heart is traveling in large wide vessels called arteries. So the aorta is the main big artery that comes right out of your heart that goes to the rest of your body. So arteries take blood away from the heart, generally. The arterial walls, that is the walls of the arteries, are thick and elastic to accommodate the increase of blood pressure right after the heart beats. So you think about it, when the heart initially pushes the blood out of the heart to the rest of the body, there's huge pressure coming right out of the heart, okay? Down the way, right, as the blood flows towards the end, a little bit weaker, a little less pressure. But right out of the heart, they got to be pretty thick. Arteries means away from the heart, so think about that. Arteries are away. Okay, our arterioles, they branch off into smaller vessels called arterioles, which are just smaller arteries. So you've got the main aorta, and it branches off into different parts of the body. Like one main artery out of the heart, and then that branches off. So, arterioles. They branch into capillaries, C-A-P-I-L-L. A-R-I-E-S, capillaries. So just like a big tree trunk goes into a limb, goes into small, tiny little branches. Okay. All right. So a capillaries are smaller, so they're 5 to 10 nanometers across. That's really small. Very, very, very small. Less than millimeters. Yeah. Capillaries are very, very small. Nanometers, that's, was that 10 to the negative 9 meters, I think? So we got millimeters are 10 to the negative 3 meters. Then micrometers are 10 to the negative 6. And nano is 10 to the negative 9 meters. So, so like 10 to the negative 8 meters. So 0.7 zeros and a 1, that's 1 nanometer. So capillaries are smaller than a single red blood cell, which is 7 nanometers across. Capillaries are so small that the blood cells go through one at a time to increase the rate of diffusion. They also have very, very thin walls. This is where oxygen and carbon dioxide are exchanged. So because they're so thin, such a thin, paper-thin border, less than paper-thin, but if you think about, if this remote for the projector, if this was, a capillary, blood flowing through here, I mean, the outer layer would be less than a paper width. And so for the substance inside here to get out, wouldn't take much. Okay, so oxygen can come in, carbon dioxide can squeeze out. And that's where that is exchanged in the lungs. The capillaries then empty into slightly larger vessels called venules. V-E-N-U-L-E-S. Venules are to veins as arterioles are to arteries. Venules are to veins as arterioles are to arteries. So, so arteries branch out into arterioles and veins branch out into venules. Venules then empty into even larger vessels called veins, and these empty back into the heart. So you've got like aorta, and then you've got arteries, and then you've got capillaries, get really small, venules really small, veins back into the heart.
No, it's superior and inferior vena cava. If I didn't remember wrong, it's the last part of well, like compared to the aorta, is the superior and inferior vena.
Yeah. No, I didn't. I just skipped that. Yeah. Veins carry blood that is under very low pressure, so they have thinner walls and also have valves in them to keep the blood from flowing in the right direction. So it's important. The aorta is big and thick coming out of the heart, let's say. It doesn't have a valve because it's not worried. There's no chance that the blood is going to get back into the heart because it's such high pressure going out. But towards the end there, because the pressure is so low, the blood kind of, just kind of moves under low pressure. So there actually are valves, an excellent design feature there to keep the blood from backtracking, I guess, too much. So keep the blood flowing in one direction. Okay, these diagrams here, this is in your notes right here. Whoops, hang on. This is in your notes right here. These ones are not right here. So if you want to add them, you can. You can. I'm going to stop and talk about them just a little bit. So what are the differences here? An artery generally has redder, oxygen-rich blood that carries through it, so it appears more red. Your veins, if you look in your wrist, your veins appear blue. Oxygen a little bit more depleted. Oxygenated blood. An artery has a thicker outer wall. A vein has a thinner outer wall. So there's a thick, smooth muscle on the artery, and less muscle, and it's quite a bit thinner. A capillary has a very small sort of opening where blood can travel, and the wall is like a single layer of cells. It's so thin, just nanometers across. So this diagram up here, the heart goes to the arteries, goes to the arterioles, into all the capillaries where oxygen is exchanged with carbon dioxide. So all of your muscles and actions of your body, again, to create that waste, carbon dioxide and waste, and that the good stuff and the bad stuff get exchanged here in the capillaries. And then those go into the venules, to the veins, back to the heart. Any questions there so far? All right. So here's just you got this in your notes there. Just a little bit of a more detailed diagram of an artery and a vein. You won't need to memorize these terms, just for your curiosity. Thicker muscles, right? And thicker outer walls, main thing. All right, let's talk a little bit more about blood. So next page there, let's see. Blood is composed of fluid. Plasma makes up 55%. That's the clear liquid portion of the blood. So plasma is about 55% of your blood. Cellular components, about 45%. So that is red blood cells or erythrocytes. red blood cells. White blood cells, leukocytes. And platelets.
Which is really important.
Platelets are the major contributor to blood clotting, I believe. So the white blood cells attack infection, that kind of thing. So that's the bit of the makeup there. So platelets are a really small portion. And okay, blood samples tray. Okay, the red blood cells in the body have a surrounding protein around them called an antigen. The red blood cells have a surrounding protein called antigen. The body uses these to identify the blood as its own. There are two kinds of these antigens, A and B. The absence of antigens is called type O. So now we're getting into blood types, right? A, B, O. A and B are codominant. O is recessive. So A and B are dominant. They're both codominant. O is recessive.
Only one.
Now, if we're talking about genes and things like that, dominant, recessive genes, dominant is the one that kind of takes over. And if you have a dominant trait that is manifest, like curly hair or blue eyes or something like that, that would be, if that's considered dominant traits, that's what's manifest, that's what's expressed. And then if you don't have any of those traits, the recessive ones can manifest. So dominant and recessive, just kind of like what the words mean. The one kind of dominates over the other as far as the manifestation there. There are other kinds of antigens found in blood as well. The next most common important kind is called the rhesus factor, or Rh factor. R-H-E-S-U-S, rhesus. This antigen can either be present, that is Rh positive, or absent, Rh negative. The rhesus factor is named after the rhesus monkey because it was first discovered in them. It's seen in many different species blood. Okay, so we're just touching the surface on some important things. So this is your first look at biology, really, right? Health Science 20. So if you want to pursue any kind of biological classes or studies or careers, then you'll obviously be moving into your biology 30 and maybe university post-secondary biology classes. So you guys have talked a little bit about biology maybe in grade 9 and 10, but this is kind of your first real taste of actual biology. Okay, blood types are listed as, here we go, A, B, AB, and O. So antibodies in the plasma, antibody B, antibody A, there's none here, and there's antibody A and antibody B in group O, or type O. So the groups are kind of like the types, type A.
So what was anti-B? I like O.
So the anti-B is the antibodies in the plasma in type A blood. So there's antibodies B in the plasma. This is the red blood cell type. This is what's in the plasma. So the clear liquid type. So this is the dominant. This is the red blood cell type. So your type, your blood type is your red blood cell type. Yeah. So here there is antibody B in your blood a little bit, and here there is antibody A in your blood. If you have AB, they're kind of sharing the dominant status. Whoops. And so they don't have any other antibodies in the plasma. And then O doesn't have any dominant. They have a small amount of A and B in the plasma. And then this is what the small circles are: the A antigen, B antigen, AB antigens. So again, this is just some surface information, just blood types up here. The positive and negative, I don't think we talked about that. Does anyone know their blood type in here?
I'm A.
A? Okay. Anybody B? Anybody know that they're B? Yeah, think so? No? Is that a hand up or no? Is that a hand up? Oh. Anybody A, B? Anybody O? Who doesn't know what their blood type is? That's most of you. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, I guess. Well, I guess you guys wouldn't be too young to give blood or anything like that, I guess. You've never had blood taken? You've never...
When we first born, we know what type of blood we are.
I guess I probably didn't know what type of blood I was. Wow.
I've had blood taken, I just don't.
Type A. I'm A. Yeah, I think that's probably when I found out when I first donated blood, probably. Actually, that's not true, no. Yeah, if you get your blood taken, you can find out. Like they do that. Okay. So, guys, one more thing. So, guys, listen up, please. Remember the RH positive, RH negative. So in your blood type, you could be type A, but if you're A positive, that means that you do have the RH antigen. So there's A positive, there's A negative, there's B positive, B negative. I think I'm A positive, I think I'm A positive. But there would be a blood type, and then there would be either a positive or a negative behind that. So whether you have this RH antigen. Okay. All right. I think we'll stop there for today. We'll pick it up. 4.3 diseases and disorders. We'll do that for tomorrow. You guys can work on your CK12 circulatory system assignments for the last 5-7 minutes of class here. Go ahead.